Hello everyone from Ski Instructor Academy. Well, we have over 20 ski instructor training groups on the mountain at the minute. Now I'm going to go up today and surprise one of them groups because I'm seeing on the feedback over the last 2 weeks from some of our training staff that we have a collective problem in some of the groups of them being very robotic, very stiff and bracing and pushing on their skis often. I want to go up and see if I can break this habit very, very quickly. I want you lot to join me on this rapid lesson this morning and see what I can do to stop this pushing, bracing and stiffness that they have in their joints. What sort of feedback do you think you've had that's the critical feedback that's, stopping you from doing certain things? So you're a bit confused then as to what information you've got, yeah? You're not quite sure what to do next. Is that where you're at, would you say? And what is the knowledge you had? I mean, if you went down here now, what would you be thinking of? So what we're going to do is I'm going to ski you down here, one at a time-ish, like about 4 or 5 turns between you. Ed and I are going to go down and watch you come to us. And I want you to make a long parallel turn that you feel comfortable with, and I want it to be of the radius that is long enough to be at least 12 meters across the slope. So watch Ed and watch myself go down, okay, and then we're going to wave and we're going to bring you down one at a time. Now I'm going to give you some information, yeah, especially when we look at gymnastics, weight training, all sorts of things like that, of exaggeration. People don't seem to want to do it. They really want to avoid exaggeration when they're first starting. Send the next one down. Come out there. Cool. Yep, that looks great.
Okay. Bit of timing as well.
Send the next one.
Is the black one?
Yes, the black one. I send the next one. It's the girl in white pants. One of the things that's very noticeable with you when you're skiing down is that you do have some of the movements that we need to see, but the timing's quite off. That's one thing that's obvious. And also, it would really do you benefit to be able to exaggerate the movements as well. Could I just have that stock pull? So when we're coming around a turn and we have a nice rounded turn, if you like, we need to release the turn, and then we want to get the turn to be able to steer to a close. To do that, we need to not push on the ski, because unless the ski is set at what we call critical edge angle, where it's on a high edge, if you push on the ski, it's going to either judder underneath here, or it's going to move away from your center of mass. Your center of mass and the outside ski will move apart. And what I'm seeing is a lot of pushing as opposed to steering. And to help you steer, I'm going to make you do some exaggeration of movement. And what I want you to be able to do is, if you think of this as being 0 and this as being 10, we don't want you to go to a 10 ever. We don't want people like this. We want you to sit at about an 8.5. Somewhere here's the maximum, but in your case, I do want you to come down and try to aim to get to the 0, okay, if you could. And I want you to never go fully up, but I do want you to go 0 and up. But I also, when you go down, I want it to be an eccentric contraction. So Ed, can I use you? So if Ed just now goes down over and he just drops, that's just him dropping. But if I put my arms under his armpits here and now he goes down, you feel resistance, Ed? Yeah. He's going to pull himself down now. Pull yourself down, and I'm stopping him from pulling himself down. Now do the same again, Ed, but imagine I'm stopping you. So he's now tight as he pulls down. Do you understand the difference? Because in the skiing, what I'm watching you do with your timing issue is you are moving as so there's no torque or tension. And what I just did there with Ed, I created torque for him, but he can also create that himself, yeah, Ed? Yeah. And that's important, because as soon as I lose the tension in my joints, particularly the ankle, it's hard to get it back. Very hard when the platform moves. So you need to pull yourself down and drive yourself up. So somebody's trying to stop you moving in those two directions. So now Ed and I will demo the next bit. What I'm looking for is I'm trying to get them to stop pushing on the ski and to move aft. And we can see instantly that he's lost the ability to build too much pressure at the bottom of the turn. And the ski naturally starts to do what it's supposed to do. And all of a sudden, I'll send the next one. He's got much more control in steering. That I didn't mention the steering part. I haven't discussed steering with him yet. I don't need to mention steering because at this stage, the ski shape will do the steering for her. As long as she releases the pressure, which you can see she's shy of it, she's still very shy. So in this case here, what number would we call this? What number do you think this is going down? Yeah, if she's lucky, yeah, maybe we might give her that. But this is the difference in knowing your body. Here again. So we see instantly the change in pressure. We see that he or she can use the aft of the ski, whereas before they weren't using the aft of the ski. Timing starts to look after themselves. I'm now getting a toppling action that I wasn't getting before, which I can then build alpine basic position into. So here comes the next one. So have a look up, guys. Here we see the extension. Here we see her going down. We would probably give this somewhere about a 3 or a 2. It's really good. You know, she's really getting down to where I asked. Okay, look what happens to the skis as the sinking action happens. Okay, well done. Come right in. We've got Sam, green and white. So Sam has a lot of problems with being very stiff. We've assessed his mobility off the piste, and he has very limited dorsiflexion. He has no big toe movement. He cannot build a tripod of the foot, and he struggles with knee pain. But look at how far he goes down. I would call that a what? You weren't watching, were you? Okay. What would you call that number? Sam, how far did you believe that you were going down?
I think I could have gone more down.
Yes. You were probably at about a 5 or a 6 from an 8.5. Who's coming? Oh, the yellow guy. Yellow guy, yellow. Who's this in the yellow?
Yeah, this is Mickey.
Mikhail. Now guys, what I'm going to be asking you is, what does it do when you are releasing the ski by making this exaggerated downwards action, what does it do to the turn shape and what does it do to the pressure on the front of the ski? Does pressure increase as you go around the last part of the turn, or does it decrease? You feel it increases, does it? Well, get down enough, okay? You failed to do that, so you have to go even more. Remember, it's a pull down though, it's a pull down. It's not a flop down. I want core strength and tension. What's happening? When we're releasing the curve, the skis will naturally drift into the fall line. One thing that people do at the start of a turn is they make the mistake of trying to turn. You don't need to turn these skis. They self-turn with gravity. Gravity will draw them into the fall line. Do not do anything. Let the ski drift into the fall line and then make this pulling down. Force yourself with tension low down and feel what happens to the turn shape and the pressure in this bit of the curve, the last bit. Does the pressure seem to even out or does it aggressively increase? Yeah? All right.
So after they had a quick practice again at this movement exaggeration, what we did was we went back up the T-bar there and I wanted them to practice actually just making a hockey stop as they would normally do. And if you watch them making a hockey stop down here, you can see that all of them tend to do the same thing, which is really push really hard. This, has an aggressive contraction of the muscles, and it really pushes their center of mass to the inside, and they stiffen and push the outside ski. So in contrast, when you see Ed and I go down, we wanted to demonstrate that there's another way to glide to a stop by once again going into some sort of suspension and trying to absorb and equal out the pressure rather than coming to that hockey stop where there's an increase in an abrupt peak on the graph, if you like, of pressure control. So something as simple as a hockey stop, because it's done repetitively throughout the day, maybe 30, 40, 50 times, that movement pattern is an ingrained pushing again. And I would say for this group to try and avoid that and try and avoid pushing the skis away from them, which in turn brings their inside, their center of mass far into the inside. And as many ski instructors actually use a hockey stop to practice short turns, then if the instructor's not careful to actually get them into a good position when they're coming to a stop, then it's actually going to be detrimental. It's not the correct exercise to do.
All right. So what we saw in the hockey stop was the same type of compression and pushing that can ingrain a movement pattern in your brain. And what we want you to do from today forward is to think, even when you're stopping, how important it is to work with the edge of the ski and to be able to go into suspension as opposed to pushing hard. And it'll encourage you to make the same action when you're doing short turns, which a lot of you are having problems with. And in your brain, you see a short turn as like this. And what we wanted to do is to be steered and a little bit more even. When you're pushing, and you'll see it on the video, it's creating an action in the hip that we don't want to see in skiing. So watch this. As we put Sam up onto his back, and I've got his skis here, I want Sam to do his best to turn the skis against my hand so he's making a turn.
Which way are you pushing?
I'm pushing you that way, you're pushing against me. Push, 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 turn. Go on, turn as hard as he can. Now, keep turning, come on. You can see him shaking, and what he's doing to make the skis turn is he wants to turn the skis this way, but to turn the ski this way, watch his glute, watch his backside. As I turn, he wants to kick the arse out and up. This action. Here, that's what he's doing. right? And that's what he does in his short turns and his hockey stop. He does this. And if you look at the video, you'll see you lot doing this. He needs to get rid of that, and the only way he can get rid of that at the minute is if instead of aggressively pushing the skis, he instead softens and turns. The more you flex, the more access you have to hip rotation. The more aggressive and straight he is, the less access he has in that socket. Okay, and he's already stiff. I've measured how much internal rotation he has, and it's barely 10 degrees. We'd like to see 35 to 45. So in his case, in the hip rotation, to encourage more rotation, he needs to flex more and steer. Okay? So what we're going to do now is, you can jump back up, is we're now going to make that funnel turn, and we're going to try to get you to make the compression and the suspension of moving down, if you like, and include that as the radius comes in, Sam. And as the radius comes in, don't fear getting low. All right? And that's all we're going to do. We'll demo it. We're going to be running on about that trajectory there. Okay, I don't want to end up there. I want to go that way. And I'm going to, by the time you get to Ed and me, you should be in a nice short swing. Okay? Long to short. Down. Next one's coming. Well done, Fazad. Next one's coming now. So what I'm trying to do is to enable them to access joint mobility and stability at the same time. They would access the mobility by just making the movement, but the stability element and the torque has to come from them understanding the tension part. So what we need them to do is not be too floppy and actually understand that they're resisting force, and to be able to still have access to the joints without being loose. Yeah, it's just started. So end range of movement and getting access to the movements. So what will be interesting now, we're on to run 2, is can they sustain this on a steeper hill? And can they get into that short turn now quicker and be able to, you can see how the skis are acting now. I mean, you know, they're losing speed even because of the turn shape. And actually, in general, I don't feel as though I need to tackle fore and aft too much, although they're doing it automatically. So for the viewers watching at home, the fore and aft is something I'm subliminally tackling. I'm not telling them that I'm tackling it, but I'm trying to encourage them to go from the front of the ski to the middle of the ski to the back of the ski more naturally without overfeeding them with information. Because of course at this point here, like they said at the bottom there, they're a bit overforded, English word?
Yeah,
full of information. Yeah, they've got so much information, they really don't know what to do next and what they are doing. So sometimes with this, these skiers who've got between 5 and 10 weeks, we need to restrict the information we're giving them and be very careful of coaches of making it simple. What we want is if you can't explain something simply, then you don't understand it. So as a group, when we watch other people go down, team, focus. As a group, as you watch people go down, what do you notice about that style of skiing? How would you describe it? You know, would you describe it as, he looks smooth then? Would you be like a ninja on skis, as opposed to looking like he's having an epileptic fit on his skis? He's really, really soft and smooth with the turns. Now his ski school wants to see the group that behind him doing that. And what about his turn shape? Watch the turn shape of people when they soften. What happens? This word finish the turn is a sweeping statement made by instructors and coaches all over the world. And nobody really seems to know what the hell they're talking about from a guest point of view. Well, look at what happens when she softens with the ski. Look at it shoot, it moves, it deflects, it squirts out, and it automatically finishes the turn for her. One more. Well done. We'd like to see you all get now into the short turn quicker, of course, but we'll look at that on the next strip. Stay focused, team, and watch the other people. You will learn a lot from watching other people doing what they're doing. Okay? Get into the short turn now quicker, team, because we're basically going to be doing short turns on the next strip. We're going to go from a very much medium turn into a short straight away now. Get into the short turn. Short turn, short turn, short turn, quicker. Go now, go now. Yes. I'm going to send the next one down. Case of Sam, he's got a lot of rotation, but we'll deal with that in a minute. Sam, how was that?
It felt better than some of my short turns.
So it didn't feel so shaky in your legs?
That thing that you say where I push out, I definitely do that during short.
And were you doing it there?
Not as much.
No, no. Okay, and why weren't you doing it there?
I don't know, I think the skis just sort of take themselves. Because normally when I let the skis take themselves, I speed up and speed up and speed up, but there, I was letting them do their thing and I sort of kept a steady pace.
Yeah. So basically you let the ski do its own job. And as soon as you make the mistake, and even in one turn of pushing, you'll get shot to the back and everything will just fall apart. It's a rhythm, and what I need you to do is start tightening the rhythm up. So in other words, to go from what sort of shape you've got and to start to get it down to an acceptable short turn width. Yeah, somebody's coming, I can see them. White pants. So we need to get to a point relatively quickly where we're at about from me to Ed. Yeah, and that sort of distance of getting it. That means you've got to be quick. But as soon as you lose tension and go floppy with your body or anything, you're finished. It just, that's it done. So we've always got to maintain tension all the time. Yellow one. We all need to get into the short turn quicker, folks. We're taking a little bit of long time, so we want to get you into a kurzer Radien. This is still a long turn. Okay, this is typical of someone who's not listened. Get into the short turn faster, get into the short turn faster. Okay, but the movement's good. Pants, white jacket. When you come to do the short turns, the exam strip is likely to be this bit here. Okay, so you'll be doing a kurzer Radien on a strip like this. Hard snow. But these are now pretty good. She's pretty good there. Very good.
Really?
Yeah, you made the connection to everything's come together there. You are not pushing and bracing in difficult snow. That's really shitty snow down the side there. No, you're not meant to. When you finish, when you go past the fall line, you know what I mean? When you start. Do not push. Do the opposite. The turn's finished. The turn is done. You've already done the turn. If you keep trying to force the turn after the fall line, you'll push. And what it'll do is this. Your body will move inside the turn. And that's the problem there, your body didn't move inside the turn.
Far more earlier in the turn. Sam.
Okay, Sam, do you get the principle now? It's about softening and not about being aggressive. If we watch them go down, and you've been with this group maybe, you can watch and see if you see changes. This is difficult snow. It's really cruddy and horrible, but look at what's happening to our skis. They're going across the hill. They're going from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. It just doesn't seem to be doing anything. Very good. You could be a ski instructor, you. Right, really good. You feel your skis are going 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Your speed is controlled through turn shape. It's not getting faster, faster, faster. It's perfect. This is very good. This is super. If a demo wants to be done, he did it better than Ed and me. Well done. Hey, super demo. Super demonstration of what I wanted. I said you did it better than I did. The problem is skiing around like we're in a jack-a-box skiing is going to have to be adapted. We can't obviously ski like this all the time, but we want to get to the point of understanding the feeling. Look at this person in the bumps here. Look at the range of movement in the legs. Is that not identical as to what I'm doing there? Do you understand why you can't ski bumps? That's why. Because you're not making the identical movements to other people. So here comes the last one. Fazad's coming down. Let's get into that short turn, Fazad. Keep going. He's starting to push. I can see it on that side there. I can see it there. You see it? There. So this is why, as I said up top, I'm skiing with my boots undone completely. You know, I've got these loose boots because I want to feel that I have access to both levers in my ankle joint. And I'll describe this better in physics and anatomy at some point in the future, where I talk about class 1 levers and class 2 levers, and the stretch reflex reaction that I'm looking for is much easier for me when my boots are a little bit lighter, a bit softer at the start of the day especially. Now what I want to do now is emphasize the importance of the flexion over the extension. So what I'm seeing in skiing a lot is people use too much vertical spring to initiate the turn, and this disconnects them from the snow. Now, when you're on a hill, gravity itself has two components. Basically, you've got gravity coming and acting on us now, and I also have gravity because you're on a slope. And we use that effectively to bring us down the hill with these skis. But what I see people do is they use too much vertical, and if you use too much vertical and you make a turn, in the top part of the turn, you're going to feel a big disconnect because the slope's dropping away from you. So if I make a disconnect, the slope drops down, it takes me forever to come back on top of the ski and put pressure on it. So what I want you to do here is I do want you to stay in a more flexed position and use less up to actually initiate a turn. And actually, to force you to do that again, is we're going to do a drill where I'm going to place the poles into the crease of my hip. And if I make a vertical movement, you're going to be stopping picking your poles up on every turn. You're going to end up having to hinge naturally here, like a deadlift is a hinge movement, and I'm hinging from the hip, but I'm equally in flexion in the ankle and the knee. And we're going to go down with this position here, on here. It's not easy, but we're going to try. So, try it now, static. See if you can jam them in. Do you see that? You can't now afford to unhinge. If you unhinge, you're going to lose your poles. Does that make sense? If you're tall, and you're going to have to really feel a squat hinge movement. All right? Any questions? We're going to go down. And goes in here. It's actually on a steep, it works really well. And it stops them from jerking up and like extending incorrectly. Now, we need them to tune into the ankle now, because it's this class 2 lever in the ankle, this flick of the ankle that they're going to have to use. And we'll just now get them into a rhythm going down here on the flat. Do you see how important flexion is over extension? For you especially, you need more flexion than extension. You need to double your flexion compared with others because of your stiffness in your calves and your knees and etc. Yeah, everything. And if you use flexion, you're going to overcome that problem. Yeah, being aggressively down. Guys, that was really good. This is not easy when it's flattish. This has to have a lot of the ability to tense your ankles. Now, I said on this run, you can cheat. And the way I'm asking you to cheat is to lift the toes and hit the top of the toe box of the boot. Because when you lift the toes up, you're going to shorten the underneath of your foot into your Achilles tendon and create more stretch reflex there. And that's going to allow you to access this movement as opposed to that movement. I know they might look the same to you lot at the minute, but they're not. Okay, this is just me flexing my knee over my toe, and this is me actively springing with my ankle. See the difference? Have a try. Have a try and see this action here. Can you make this little action? Can you? Now, if we put the poles here, now try it. There you go. There you go, that's it. Now we're going to do that all the way down the flat, and we're going to shoot along and practice this action. Okay, got the plan? That's what we're doing. Okay, so guys, look, I'm about to leave this here with Ed, but what I was trying to get you all to understand today from the feedback over the last 10 days with the trainers for you lot was I was aware that some of you were getting picked up for being a bit robotic, for being a bit aggressive and sticking this foot hard outside. You will see this if you go off and teach. It'll be one of the most common things within the mistakes that skiers make. They push and brace, okay? And it's a natural reaction to speed because people want to slow down and they think that's going to help them to go across the hill. But we have to learn that speed control comes through that turn shape, and the turn shape that they've been trying to explain to you, this finish the turn, comes from not aggressively trying to edge or aggressively trying to move inside or whatever it may be. It's more about this softening at the end of the turn, this flexion at the end of the turn, or certainly after the fall line. Once we reach the fall line, really that turn's done. And I just want the shape of the ski to look after the rest of the curve. And then all I do is allow gravity to pull me into the next turn. This centripetal force that I have acting on me to swing me into the next turn, like I'm leaning this bike from side to side going down a hill, for example. So from today's conclusion, I want you to think range of movement. Range of movement. On the day of your exam, you should warm up with this range of movement, okay? Secondly, more important for most of you is the flexion part than the extension part. Let the extension look after itself because you've got a hill that's dropping away from you. You will appear to extend anyway when you move into a new turn and you go across the skis. The second part was trying to get you to understand to be able to use a hinge here whilst maintaining ankle tension, okay? And I wanted you to understand how important it was not to break this spinal position, because if the spine starts to move as we ski, this is where we get lower back problems and we get problems with the thoracic spine with people because they're going into flexion extension a lot with their spine. We can just get it into a nice rounded global flexion and just maintain that here. Has anybody got any questions? Does everybody feel that it's quite tiring? That's skiing, okay? It's tiring. If it hasn't been tiring before, you haven't been skiing. Thank you very, very much for allowing me to deputise today with Ed's group. It was really enjoyable for me to see the